Hello and welcome back to the Rule Book Room. If you've been following along, we have already untangled the threads of conjugal rights in Kailashwati and Swaraj Garg's case and peeked into obligations and expectations within Hindu marriage. Now it's time for a new story, and this one takes us to the Supreme Court. Let's jump in. So here's the scene. A young woman, Saroj Rani, marries Sudarshan Kumar. All seems well, at least on paper. But after the wedding ceremonies fade out, so does the togetherness. Saroj leaves the matrimonial home not with drama, not with allegations of cruelty or desertion, but with a kind of quiet distance. The reasons? Not detailed. The legal strategy? Interesting. Sudarshan files a petition under Section 9 of the Hindu Marriage Act of 1955, the now familiar restitution of conjugal rights. He wants his wife back. The trial court agrees with him and grants the decree, but Saroj Rani isn't ready to return. So, she challenges it, and the case goes all the way to the Supreme Court. Now, here's where things get thought provoking. Saroj Rani's legal team argues that Section 9 itself is unconstitutional. Yup, they go big. Their claim? That restitution of conjugal rights violates Article 21, the right to life and personal liberty, because it interferes with personal privacy and autonomy. That forcing a spouse to cohabit violates the dignity and freedom the Constitution promises. Sounds compelling, right? But here's the twist. The Supreme Court doesn't agree. Let's pause for a second and rewind to what the law says. Section 9 of the Hindu Marriage Act says that if one spouse has withdrawn from the society of the other without reasonable excuse, the other can go to the court and seek a decree compelling cohabitation. In plain words, asking the law to nudge the other person back home. Now, Saroj's lawyers say, hey, that's coercion. This violates bodily autonomy. It's unconstitutional. But the court says, hold on, it's not that simple. Here's what the judges lay down. They clarify that restitution of conjugal rights is not about physical force or consummation. The decree is more symbolic. It's a civil remedy, not a criminal order. And if the spouse doesn't return, there's no jail, no handcuffs, just a ground for divorce after 1 year of non-compliance under Section 13, subsection 1A. And so, the court reasons it's not about forcing bodies together, but about giving marriage a legal shot at repair. They rely on the idea that marriage, as recognized under Hindu law, is still a social and legal institution. And unless one partner can prove cruelty or mistreatment, it's valid to expect efforts towards reconciliation. And so, Section 9 survives the constitutional challenge. Now, some of you may feel disappointed. After all, we are talking about bodily autonomy, the right to privacy, and a woman's freedom to choose whether she wants to live with a man or not. But the court is treading carefully, balancing individual rights with the preservation of the family as a social unit. Yes, it's not the fiery feminist judgment some were hoping for, but it's a step in the broader dialogue, one that will eventually evolve in later privacy jurisprudence. So, what did Saroj Rani versus Sudarshan Kumar teach us? That Section 9 is still valid law and courts can order restitution, but it's not a physical enforcement. It's more a moral and legal signal that says, try one more time unless there's a valid reason not to. In the end, the marriage between Saroj and Sudarshan may have fallen apart, but the case became a landmark moment for how we think about love, law, and liberty. So far, we have followed the winding lanes of restitution of conjugal rights through courtroom tales from Kailashwati to Saroj Rani. But now let's take a detour, not into another case file, but into the heart of the debate. Is restitution of conjugal rights really a remedy for a wrong, or is it just a passive aggressive way to delay divorce? Let's think about it. Restitution is framed as a right. Your spouse walks away, and the law gives you a tool to bring them back. And here's the catch: does anyone actually come back? More often than not, nobody returns. What actually happens is this: the decree is passed, the spouse doesn't comply, and after 1 year, the petitioner files for divorce on the ground of non compliance. So, is it a genuine attempt to restore marriage, or just a waiting period disguised as reconciliation? Let's say this out loud. Section 9 doesn't carry teeth. There's no penalty for non compliance, no police escort to the bedroom. It's a decree without enforcement. In fact, scholars and feminists have argued that it's less about rights and more about ritual, a kind of legal symbolism. If the intention is to truly reconcile, why go through litigation? Why not mediation, counseling, or radical thought, honest communication? But wait, there's more. In some cases, restitution is used tactically. For instance, to prevent the other spouse from filing for divorce, to strengthen a case for maintenance denial, or worse, to harass the spouse who left for legitimate reasons, financial independence, mental health, or even emotional abuse that doesn't meet legal thresholds. So the question shifts from, is restitution a remedy, to, is it even ethical? And yet it remains on the books. The courts say it's civil, it's non-coercive, and it promotes the sanctity of marriage. Critics say it's outdated, patriarchal, and a facade for control. Who's right? Well, maybe both. Or maybe it's time to ask why law is more interested in pulling people back together than letting them walk away in peace. Let's end this episode with a thought. Sometimes the most dignified closure isn't a court-ordered return. It's the freedom to leave and the courage to start again. So tell me, what do you think restitution is? A legal olive branch or a sugar-coated leash? As always, I'll be back soon with more law, more nuance, and a little less jargon. Until then, if you liked today's story, follow, share, or just reflect on it. Because law isn't always in the courtroom. Sometimes it's in the silences between people like Saroj and Sudarshan. Thank you for listening. Stay curious, stay grounded, and don't forget to question the rule book. Bye.